Right, let's talk RPE. That means rating of perceived exertion, which basically means how hard are you working. And the great thing is you can use it on the swim, bike or run. It's a really great way of training. I'd really recommend it because you don't need a watch, you don't need a heart rate monitor, and you get used to training on feel. So that if you do use a watch or you do use a heart rate monitor in a race and it breaks, you're not left in the dark. Let's do this via the medium of running outside. When I was at uni, RPE used to be on a scale of like 1 to 14, but if you think about it and an athlete's under duress and you go, how hard are you working? And they're like, I don't know, like 7.2? And you have to calculate, oh, that's like 50%, that's hard. It's pointless. Use a scale of 1 to 10, keep it simple. Now, before we get into this session, my top tip is still use a watch, still use a heart rate monitor, but don't look at it while you're out training. Only come back and compare the data after the session so you can think, oh, when I was doing it that hard and it was a 7, what does that compare to for heart rate or pace? It's all building a more physical and psychological link to more tangible data, and it builds a bigger picture to give you confidence during training and events, because what happens if your watch does break during a race or your power meter doesn't work during the bike leg? So try this session and see how you feel. Rate 1 to 10 as 1 being basically in bed, still asleep, and 10 being as hard as you could go sustainably for about a minute. Probably not thinking about your flat out sprint, but something that you could sustain really, really hard for 1 minute. So basically rule out anything completely anaerobic like short, sharp sprints. Right. Let's get it on. So start with 10 to 15 minutes at 5 out of 10, nice and conversational like this. After that, it's 4 minutes at 7 out of 10, 3 minutes at 8 out of 10, 2 minutes at 9 out of 10, which is pretty bloody hard. It's like 5k pace. And finally, 1 minute, as hard as you can go for a minute. Really push it, go hard. Then once you've done that one time round, walk for 3 minutes. You can repeat that 2 or 3 times, but when you do finish with a nice 5 to 10 minutes easy jog, 5 out of 10, and a good stretch session. And the reason that training with RPE is so good is because it takes away any reliance of holding a pace, which obviously can change with hills. There's no reliance on holding a heart rate, which can spike up and down on undulating terrain. A 7 out of 10 feels like a 7 out of 10 on hills or the flat. So by changing the pace and intensity, your body is put under different strains. And when your body's put under different strains, it's basically kept guessing and it doesn't know what's coming next. So it makes these really nice physiological adaptations to make sure that it can deal with whatever is thrown at it. If you go out and you just train at the same pace all of the time, the body gets used to it and doesn't make big gains. Which is why next week we're going to be talking about fartlek training as well. You can laugh now that I said fartlek. So I hope that this has added value to you. If it has, I'd really appreciate thumbs up, I'd really appreciate shares, I really appreciate the subscribe. And I will see you next week. Have a great one.